I'm Rebecca.
And I'm Charlene. Welcome to Empowered, Life Lessons of Everyday Women.
Each episode, you're going to meet an amazing woman who has struggled through challenges both in her home life and work life and has become very successful. Meet Nicole D. Just do it. Don't hold back. Nicole had a rough start out of college. She got a job, but it wasn't until she found her passion that she started her career. She became a productivity and leadership coach and found and find clarity now. So grab a cup of coffee, get in a comfy chair as we talk to Nicole. Welcome, Nicole. We're so happy you could join us today.
I'm so happy to be here.
So, Nicole, if you were able to go back and talk to your 20-year-old self and give her a little piece of advice, what might that be?
Just do it. Do the thing. Do all the things, the weird things. Don't think twice about it.
So you mentioned when you were first starting out, right now you're a technology coach. Can you talk a little bit about what that is?
So I'm actually a productivity and leadership coach.
Oh, okay.
Started as a technology coach. And I say that because what is a technology coach? I really have no idea, but I did it for a few years. I had no idea about technology. It was my first job out of college. And what I do now is I work with mostly rising leaders or people who are looking to make a career transition. So those are like the two buckets. So people who are just looking to be efficient with their time, get a hold of their schedule, move up in the world. And then this other bucket that's kind of been a more recent bucket of people who are looking to make a move, don't know how. Maybe they were let go or part of some reorg where it's kind of been forced on them to make a move, and kind of the emotional and logistical changes and kind of process of that.
So you started out as a technology coach and you're not even sure exactly what that is. How did you end up in that role? How did that happen?
Desperation. I was looking for a job out of college and I thought I wanted to work at a nonprofit. So I was applying to all these nonprofit jobs. And they all needed experience. They all wanted experience really working in general, but specifically working in nonprofit. And I was right out of college. So all I had was like some internship experience. So I wasn't getting that. I went to someone at my school and I was like, I'm desperate. Like, do you have anything? And they connected me with this financial firm. And they were like, they're looking for this technology coach. And I'm like, great, that sounds amazing. And then I'm like Googling, like, what is a technology coach? Interviewed, and it was, basically what the role was, handling their sales school. So a lot of development, and then how to incorporate certain like software and CRM and sales presentation software into their business. That's where like the coaching started. The financial piece and the tech piece were of and still of no interest to me, but I got a taste of the coaching in that role. So it was a simple entry-level role.
And you got experience, so you could move on to other roles, right?
Finally, yes, got some experience.
Can you talk about some of the challenges you had at that first role out of college and some of the critical things that you learned from that experience that helped you guide you to where you are today?
So I think the biggest challenge was I didn't really know. I was a philosophy major. So, I wasn't in the headspace of business, spreadsheets. Like, I didn't know any of that. So when I got to work, this is what jobs are. This is what working is. Like, how disappointing. And I just felt very out of place. I felt like I was working alongside people who, when they would get the company name tattooed on their arm if they could, like they just loved it. It was like, they were so into it. And here I was counting down the minutes until I could leave and go home. And I was just like, is this what work is? So, that was the biggest challenge, was just not really being happy about this whole like working thing, really not being prepared for what that would look like, and not realizing you have to find your passion. You have to find things that you care about and like your own motivation and alignment with what you care about. I didn't know about any of that stuff. So I was really just plopped into this role that didn't really make sense. So I think what I started to learn there is that's important. You need to find pieces of your role, even if it's not, like I talk to a lot of clients who feel like their job isn't purposeful. You can find purpose in what you would maybe categorize as non-purposeful work. It's you got to find that inner drive, something that connects you to like your core values. Again, I got a taste of what the opposite of that looks like, and then kind of realized towards the end I need to figure that out. I really need to look for that.
So how did you go about figuring that out?
Getting fired helped. I was fired from my first job, so that helps. I think expanding what like work looks like. I think I thought, okay, I come to this job, I sit at a desk, I click some numbers in, and I go home. And I think I started taking a writing course in the evenings. I started doing more sales coaching, which was much more starting to get aligned to closer something that I was passionate about. Like I started to switch up, I think, what was given to me as the job description, so to speak, and expand in my interests and really hone my skill set. And I think I've continued to do that in every role I had after that one.
So I know you had talked about, a lot of people talk about a midlife crisis. You actually said that you had a quarter life crisis. Was that the firing what started the quarter life crisis, or was there something else?
I think it was before the firing. The firing was like icing on the like, oh yeah, this is a crisis. But yeah, it was just this kind of moment. Okay, like what am I doing here? Because I remember having a conversation with my dad, and he was very right, which is so annoying, but most dads are. It was like I had put so much energy and thought and passion into a lot of avenues in my life at different times, and my professional was that area was something I never did that. And I feel like nothing was clicking. So I had all these pillars of my life and nothing connected among them. And it's like I really needed to put energy and focus into all the pillars equally, but also find some connection, because there was just these arbitrary, I had an interest over here and then something over here, but nothing really, there was no Nicole to kind of connect them all together. They all didn't make sense. They were different pieces to different puzzles versus pieces that I just needed to fit into the same puzzle.
So how did you identify that coaching became your passion?
So that first role, I got a taste of coaching. There were components to the role where I feel like I was really having those deeper conversations. And can I do this? What is this? And I think I just kind of thought initially the answer is no. You might be lucky if you have some of that in a job, but I kind of abandoned that idea. And then I found some other jobs in between, but that always kind of stuck with me. When I got another job in the same industry, so back to the financial industry, they were looking for a coach. It was kind of like, again, this kind of hit around the quarter life crisis that I had quite a long quarter life crisis as I'm talking about it. Do I go all in on that? Like, do I really start to think about a career versus a job and put some energy in? And the answer was kind of, yeah, let's start to get some of this stuff organized mentally. So I took that role. And again, finance, not of interest to me, but I really got to explore coaching. I got the opportunity to get certified. And I was like, this is something. I got to talk to this really high level coach, and she was kind of a mentor for a time. So I just really got like the space to dive into it. And that's where I was kind of like, yes, this is something. There's something to it.
Well, we always like to hear people when they do find their passion. It seems to be a recurring theme among, people that are happy with their jobs and people that we've talked to in our podcasts.
Absolutely.
You touched on a career versus a job. So your first roles were really just a job. And then when you found your passion, it became your career. Is that a fair assumption?
Totally. And I think the jobs could have been careers. I had no idea the difference between the two. So I saw it as a job. Like you leave at the end of the day. I mean, move up, doesn't matter. Like I didn't approach it as a career. I think I could have, but I just didn't. And then eventually when I found coaching, it was like, all right, let's switch our perspective from having a job to having a career.
But I think a lot of people do that. I think a lot of people go in, I need a job, and they look at it, maybe it might be a 9 to 5, it might be more than a 9 to 5, but it's not something that wants them to get up in the morning and go into work. They dread Sunday evening because they have to go back into work. And I think it kind of touches on that desire for you to kind of expand and move on and be successful sometimes has a lot to do with whether you think of it as a job or a career.
Absolutely. I think it helps because you're finding something that, like you said, gets you out of bed in the morning to it. And it might not necessarily be what's obvious. Oh, I love the work that we're doing. Maybe it's not that. Maybe it's the people. Maybe it's I'm getting promoted. Maybe it's money. Like we all kind of like turn our noses, like you should be motivated by money, but some people are. And I think that's totally fine.
Right. Everybody has something that makes them tick. You started your own company, correct, as a productivity and leadership coach. Can you talk a little bit about that? I think it's called Find Clarity here. So can you talk about what motivated you to start that company?
Sure. It's so funny. My mom jokes, she's like, find clarity now, find clarity there. And it's like, it's find clarity here, Mom, like get it together. In that last kind of corporate role where I was really able to explore coaching, once you kind of start exploring, the walls come down and you're like, well, what else? Like, what else? What else? And it was during then COVID happened. And I think a lot of people were exploring, side hustles and, doing their own thing and just kind of what work could look differently suddenly. So I started to look at, could I just take on some personal clients, not a business, just have a little passion project on the side. And I started doing that. I talked to my boss and, it was approved and whatever, started doing that. And then I was like, what if I did a little more? What if I added more hours and, whatever? And I just kept pushing. Then I was kind of at a point where like, oh crap, I really like this. And now the day job's getting in the way. What do I do now? And I just kind of I would say it was about a year. I joked that I was married with a mistress. I was working full time and then any downtime, any breaks, any lunch hours, any evenings, any early mornings, I was trying to build up a business, give it as much as I could to see if it could be a business, to see if I could leave corporate and really explore my own business. And it really came down to each day, I was like checking my bank account. I was checking my client pipeline. Can I quit today? Can I quit today? How about today? And it was really down to the last minute where, the week before I was like, okay, next Thursday or whatever it was, that's the day. And then, kept pursuing my business. I think it's 4 years old now.
Congratulations. That's awesome.
So switching gears a little bit, I know you have a young child. So what are some of the challenges you had while you were starting your new business with having a younger child?
This is a short podcast, so how do I put all the challenges? Well, first, before even having the child, I had a big fear. What if I don't like work anymore? What if I have this child and then I'm like, oh, work's not for me. I just want to be a mom, 100%, no interest in working, bringing income, like that doesn't suit me anymore. That creative outlet, not of interest. So that was a big fear that kind of mentally I had to work on. Okay, it's kind of in my core now. I don't think it's going to disappear, which it didn't. And then I think when my son's 18 months now, I think it was, and I'm sure most moms say this, it was guilt. Like if I'm working, how dare I be working when I could be with him? And then when I'm with him, I could be getting clients right now. Like, what am I doing? Like, you can't win. And I would literally I have video, so I can remember that I did that. I would be on calls and rocking my son to sleep, like holding him while coaching a client. And I was like, I feel like this is not good, like parenting. And this is also not good business, but it's like, you do what you got to do. So I would say it was the guilt and trying to juggle being okay to be in mom mode and being okay to be in business mode.
But you found a way to balance it out. And I think that's, what our listeners are looking for is how do you balance that? There is obviously, if you're a mom or you're a dad and you're stay at home, and there's guilt that applies to that as well, even not bringing an income in. So there's, guilt on both sides, but it sounds like you were able to follow both dreams, which is great. We commend you for that.
Yeah, I think the key is there is no balance. Like the idea that it's going to be balanced, it's like we got to give up on that. And like some seasons, you're going to be way more mom focused, and other seasons, it's going to be more business focused, and just kind of being okay with the ebb and flow of that versus, okay, I've spent, 2 hours with my son. That's great. Now I'm going to work for 35 minutes. And it doesn't work out.
No, every day isn't going to be 50-50, right? Sometimes you're going to have a 50-50. Sometimes you're going to have a 90-20 or 20-80 or, whatever. It all should work out in the end. If it doesn't, then you're draining yourself. And I think your body will feel that way.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what advice can you give to our listeners who are just starting out in a job to help them get on the right track early?
That's a really good question. I would say first, figure out what you want to. New job is a clean slate. Like it truly is. It's like January 1st. It's an amazing new slate. So I like to think about it, what you want to start, stop, continue. So what are some things you did in your if you were employed previously, what are some things that you did there that you want to make sure you continue doing? What are some new things that maybe you were missing in your past professional life, whatever that looked like, that you want to start doing now? And what are things you want to stop? Things that aren't serving you, you don't want to bring with you. And these could be like mindset things. These could be logistical things. These could be, I was taking notes on a tablet and I want to start taking notes on a piece of paper. It could be anything, kind of establishing that. And I think goal setting, we talk about goal setting like it has to be this big thing and you got to do a vision board and, this complicatedness. But I think it's good to, go into a job. Where do you want to be in 6 months, in a year? What's your 90-day goal? Starting how do you want to feel about it in 90 days? And just kind of giving yourself those milestones to check in, like, how's this going? Because I talk to people who have been at a job 20 years. I don't think I really like this. And it's like, ooh, that's a little late to discover that. So you want to be checking in and tuning in. How are you doing? How's it going? How you feel about it?
I like the idea that you mentioned of the reset button because, we all look at the end of the year. January 1 is the reset day, right? But I don't think that a lot of us look at our jobs when we switch jobs or we go to a new place as this great opportunity. And you know what? I think it's a great opportunity for you to reevaluate yourself before you even walk in the door. Like, what was working? What wasn't working? What kind of things was I doing to maybe irritate people? Should I have kept my mouth shut more? Should I have talked more? So I think it's really, really a valid point, and I like the idea of the reset.
So what is one of the biggest mistakes that people make when they start getting into leadership roles?
Making it about them. I talk to a lot of individual contributors where it really is you and you're doing the work and you're doing the thing and you're the one talking about doing the thing and you're reporting to your leader, about that. And it's really you. Once you're a leader, it's really them, and how you can help them, how you can support them, you can pave ways for them, meaning your team, direct reports, whatever you want to call it. Even if you don't have someone directly reporting to you, chances are you have people like looking to you. It should be much more we than I once you transition to leadership.
And who has been your biggest influence along the way in your career and life?
Ooh, that's hard. My parents have always been very present and supportive for different reasons. I feel like my dad is my go-to for business professional stuff. Like I remember my last corporate job, calling them probably before 6 a.m. crying, like, what do I do? Oh my gosh. And my dad always says, like, you can't ski the whole slope. So, taking it like he can bring me from a 10 to like a 4 real fast in terms of stress and anxiety about professional stuff. And then my mom is much more on the emotions and like what things mean, big picture, what things mean in your entire life. So they're always, to this day, I'm turning 40 in a few months and there's still like touch points on things. Like, I'm thinking about doing this. What do you guys think? And getting their 2 cents.
It's nice that you're able to go back to them. That's really fun.
Yeah.
So what does being empowered mean to you?
Not feeling like you have to ask all the time. Not asking, should I do this? Am I the right person to do this? I don't want to step on toes. Will they be mad? Or it's just, I guess it's a little bit of not asking and maybe also not caring. I'm doing this. I think this is the right thing. I feel good about my decision. Some people might not like it. I'm totally okay with that.
So your business seems to be dependent on customer feedback and probably word of mouth, I'm guessing.
Mm-hmm.
What are some of the things when you're starting out your own business that you did to help with that word of mouth and getting positive feedback? How did you go about doing that?
I really embraced, I did a lot of marketing for one. So I, I called them client quotes. So if someone said something, I did it anonymously, but if someone said something about their experience, about their session, oh, that makes so much sense, I would just use that in my marketing as, this is what people are saying in our sessions. I really also leaned on authenticity. I think as a coach, there are a lot of coaches that are kind of coming with this idea of like, I have figured out life. I have figured out peace and I am stress-free and I am total health, and you can do it too. You can be that if you work with me. And I wanted to be and I've constantly heard feedback that this resonated with people, and this is why people have chosen me as their coach. Like that is not me. Like, I help you with stress. Do I get stressed? Absolutely. Do I cry in the corner sometimes? 100%. Am I healthy? Yes. Do I love dirty martinis? Absolutely. So it's you're going to get a real person. I'm not going to talk down to you. I don't know any more than you do. I just have certain skills that help us work together to support you in a effective way.
You bring a perspective that they can resonate with, that they don't feel belittled by
or intimidated by.
They can be themselves. And I think that's really important because, nobody's perfect. There is not a perfect person in the world. And to make that assumption that you're going to fix people rather than help guide them, I think that's huge. I respect that a lot, Nicole.
I do think it goes back to what even you said about leadership. It's more about them and less about me, but the ones that you can see through are the ones that are maybe the successful. I'm going to put air quotes on that one. They may have that and we've talked again about authenticity, but you can read it and you get, like I said, you get intimidated by it when somebody is so good at their job and you can't feel the realness. It takes away from who they are. Your gut kind of guides you on that one, I think.
Totally, 100%. I remember the first, you mentioned feedback. I got my first negative feedback through my survey. And I used it. I put it in my marketing. I talked about it on social media. I was like, oh my gosh, I got my first bad review. Let's talk about it. And I just totally embraced it because to think I am just amazing for everyone. It's impossible. I'm not going to be the best fit. So, to put that out there.
But doesn't that show people that you're learning from your problems? Isn't that what people, especially from a coach, right? You want to know that they've learned from their mistakes. And here you are embracing whatever the issue was and saying, okay, how can I be better?
Yeah. And a learning opportunity too. I think there was a disconnect on what this person was expecting from coaching to be. So it was a great, okay, let me talk about that. Let me talk about what you can expect from working with at least me, but probably with other coaches too, how it's different from therapy and mentorship. And it was a great tool.
So do you have any life lessons for our listeners and maybe additional advice you might want to give to our listeners?
Biggest life lesson is it sounds silly to say out loud, but I think this is good. I really feel deep down that I can do anything. If I really wanted to do something, it's going to take time or money or focus, and life would have to change, all of that. But I feel like people can do amazing things. And I think it's important to believe you can do crazy things, and everyone should think that of themselves. And you're going to get people who are you're gonna even just quitting your job, people are gonna have an opinion about that. You're gonna quit, such a good job, you just got promoted, what are you doing? You have to totally believe I, of course, am going to get another job and it's going to be better. No one's going to believe that for you.
Yeah. Any other advice you'd like to leave with our listeners before we say goodbye?
Find that clarity. Clarity is key.
Okay. This has been really, really empowering. It really has been empowering. And thank you so much for joining us today, Nicole. Our listeners will find true value in this. And good for you for being an authentic individual. And it sounds like a great coach. So thank you so much.
Thanks for joining us, Nicole.
Thank you.
To our listeners, we hope you enjoyed this episode of Empowered Life Lessons of Everyday Women. We would really appreciate if you could leave us a rating or a review. If you have any challenges or questions you are facing, we want to hear from you as we value your input and suggestions. And if you have a compelling story or life lesson you would like to share, please connect with us at empoweredlifelessons@gmail.com. You can also find us on Facebook, Instagram, other social media platforms, or visit us at empoweredlifelessons.com. In our next episode, meet Beth M. Beth couldn't afford to go to college, but she found a mentor who taught her computer coding. This knowledge and her leadership skills led her to successfully own her own company.